Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Good morning, everyone. I'm very glad you could join us today for this Sunday service, whether you're part of the OCBC community or Vista Buddhist Temple, or whether you're just a visitor here. Thank you for coming. Our order of service includes chanting. We'll begin with Shishin Rai, that's on page 30 of the service book, followed by Juseige. Then we'll have a thought for today, a Dharma message, a musical offering, and announcements about some upcoming events. But we'll begin with chanting. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Shishin Keirei Namo Shouchiu Fu Shishin Keirei Namo Shouchiu Ho Shishin Keirei Namo Shouchiu So. Gagon Shosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzo Seifujo Shoga Ga O Muryoko Fui Dai Seshu Fusai Shobingu Seifujo Shoga Gashi Jobutsudo Myosho Jipo Kukyo Mishomon Seifujo Shoga Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Teninshi Jinriki Endaiko Fusho Musaido Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihichi Egen Meshi Konmoan Heisokusho Akudo
Tsudatsu zen shumon, kosojo manzo, iyoro jippo, nichigatsu shujuki, penko on fugen, ishukai hozo, koseku dokuho, jo dai shuchu, seppo shishiku, kuyo isai boots, gusoku shutokuhon, ganne shitsujoman, tokui sangaio, nyobutsumu gechi, tsudatsumi fusho, gangaku eri, toshi sai shoson, shiganya koka, daisen no kando, koku shotenin, to uchin myoke. Namandabu, 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 namandabu. Gannishiku doku, yodo sei sai, dohoten bodai shin, ojo onra.
Namo Amidawutsu, Namo Amidawutsu, Namandawutsu, Namandawutsu, Namandawutsu. Please join me in reading our thought for today. The moon and sun are eternal travelers. Even the years wander on. A lifetime adrift in a boat, or in old age, leading a tired horse into the years. Every day is a journey, and the journey itself is home. Namo Amidawutsu, Namo Amidawutsu, Namandawutsu, Namandawutsu. This morning, as I'm standing up here on the Naijin, I'm put in a mood that would be called natsukashi, nostalgic perhaps. I remember the many times I was sitting up here with our teacher, Reverend Harada, seated there, leading the chanting. I also remember the many occasions on which I was able to join the Vista Temple, Sangha, sit on their Naijin. My favorite part was always the incense offering with quiet sitting meditation and musical accompaniment. I treasure those memories. Someday we'll have experiences like that again, but they will be different. As we know, everything changes. So, as far as my talk, I want to share something you don't hear very often. I want to point out that Buddhism is a literary tradition, and we don't have to look far for a prime example. Shin Buddhism is based on the Pure Land Sutras. These writings are spectacular works of the imagination. They convey a timeless message about what it means to be a spiritual seeker. Think about the words that we chant in Sanbutsuge. I will visit countless teachers and learn from all of them. Nothing surpasses my determination to seek the way steadfastly and untiringly. This aspiration for limitless seeking is the basis of Shin Buddhism. To seek the way is itself our only liberation. Another seldom mentioned fact is that Shinran was a literary genius, the founder of our tradition, who lived 800 years ago. He composed hundreds of poems, including Sho Shinge and Ondoku-san, with which you are familiar. And in his prose writing, he certainly had the knack for turning a memorable phrase. As I see it, during the second half of his life, Shinran's Buddhist practice was nothing but reading and writing. Noting that I am an old guy, like Shinran was, I find his example of Buddhist practice inspiring. For me, literature is where it's at. To pursue that theme, let's take a look at a famous haiku poem. You remember the form of haiku, don't you? 17 Japanese syllables in the pattern 5-7-5. Furu ikeya, kawazu tobikomu, mizu no oto. O old pond, a frog jumps in, the sound of a splash. Now, if I were to claim that Shinran wrote this haiku, how would you react? Well, what you ought to say is, Jim, you're full of baloney. The reason is that Shinran never writes about ponds or about frogs. My sincere apologies to Freddie. Today we are going to reflect on the words of a man who did write about ponds and frogs, the poet and travel diarist Matsuo Bashō. Basho lived in the 17th century, so on a timeline, that puts him about halfway between Shinran and ourselves. The image here on the slide is a 19th century print. It depicts Basho in his traveling garb with his walking stick and knapsack. He is pausing to chat with two gentlemen. Basho did a great deal of traveling, noting his impressions and composing poems as he went along. His writings are among Japan's foremost literary treasures. Why am I focusing on Basho in this Dharma talk? It's not simply because he's a poet, but it's because he was a student of Zen, and his writings are very much a reflection of that. However, the way this works needs some explanation. Basho does not write in a manner that is overtly religious. Everything he says could be taken in a purely secular sense, having nothing to do with religion. His style is therefore quite unlike that of Shinran, who always writes in a manner that is clearly about Buddhism. Let's return to that haiku by Basho. O old pond, a frog jumps in, the sound of a splash. Simple and transparent, wouldn't you say? Quite picturesque. No apparent relation to religion. The same as our initial impression of a Zen rock garden. However, our initial impression of the haiku might be shallower than that old pond is. The expanded meaning might not be so simple. It might not be quite so transparent. We will come back to this haiku toward the end of my talk. I just wanted to plant the words in your mind as I introduce you to the writer Matsuo Bashō. Let's look at more of his haiku. Each of these examples makes reference to the moon. Among moon gazers at the ancient temple grounds, not one beautiful face. In Japan, there is the popular tradition of holding parties for moon viewing, or tsukimi, in the fall. That's what's going on in this image. The two gentlemen appear to be drinking sake and eating tsukimi dango. They appear to be startled and annoyed by the presence of the traveler Basho. The haiku seems to be his commentary on their state of annoyance. But there's more to it. The moon, as you know, is silent, impersonal, and has austere beauty. In our tradition, the moon is a symbol for limitless reality or voiceless truth, for which we use the word dharmakaya. Remember the story about how words are the finger pointing to the moon of enlightenment? Well, these gentlemen at the ancient temple grounds are not looking at the moon at all. They won't even look at the finger pointing to the moon. If their faces lack beauty, it's not because of physical imperfection, but because no spark of insight appears there. Here is another of Basho's haiku. Just a cloud or two to rest the weary eyes of the moon viewer. Foolish beings like ourselves may aspire to see the world of nirvana, the moon, but they are unable to hold their gaze there. Just a cloud or two of blind passions brings them back to the world of samsara. I'll share 3 more haiku for your reflection. You can give your own commentary. The bright harvest moon keeps me walking all night long around the pond. Now I see her face, the old woman, abandoned, the moon, her only companion. I slept at a temple, and now, with such seriousness, I watch the moon. Now let's consider Basho's travel writings. He did a great deal of walking around the main island of Honshu. One of his journeys took him to the Tohoku region in northern Honshu. Janice and I were able to visit a number of the places where Basho walked, including Nikko, Sendai, Matsushima, and Hiraizumi. He wrote about his travels in a journal called A Narrow Road to the Interior. Here is how the work opens. The moon and sun are eternal travelers. Even the years wander on, a lifetime adrift in a boat, or in old age, leading a tired horse into the years. Every day is a journey, and the journey itself is home. Eternal travelers and years wandering on. These phrases remind us that everything in the world is continually moving, turning, and evolving, whether we like it or not. The words evoke the truth of impermanence. And then the words adrift in a boat and leading a tired horse, these could be metaphors for our physical body, growing, maturing, and wearing out. This is our human condition. Let's regard each day as a journey and make of that journey a home. Here, let me share some words from a commentary. The commentator writes, Basho's journey is a pilgrimage. It is a journey into the interior of the self as much as a travelogue, a vision quest that concludes in insight. But there is no conclusion. The journey itself is home. The means is the end, just as it is the beginning. Each step is the first step, each step the last. Unquote. Somehow not yet dead, at the end of my journey, this autumn's evening. Travel was dangerous in those days, with very little in the way of a safety net. On his later journeys, Basho was quite ill, yet he continued to pursue his dreams of travel until he died at age 50 while in Osaka. He acknowledged the hazards of the journey. From the earliest times, there have always been some who perished along the road. Still, I have always been drawn by wind-blown clouds into dreams of a lifetime of wandering. Let's think about the title he chose for this book, A Narrow Road to the Interior, or Oku no Hosomichi. Taking the title at face value, it refers simply to a path through the Tohoku region. But at another level, a narrow road to the interior refers to self-examination, the difficult path toward self-awareness. Let me share with you some words by Reverend Gyoko Saito. He says this: the narrow road into the interior self, such a narrow path, the path one has to go on, the path one has to seek. There is no one to follow. No one can be my guide or leader. I alone, under the heaven, on the earth, must seek that way which is so narrow, so deep, which no one has taken before me. Unquote. What Basho calls a narrow road is the path toward liberation that is difficult to encounter. In Shin Buddhism, the path arises from the aspiration for limitless seeking that I mentioned at the outset. Again, from Sanbutsuge, nothing surpasses my determination to seek the way steadfastly and untiringly. Or to use Basho's words, still, I have always been drawn by wind-blown clouds into dreams of a lifetime of wandering. For him, the journey is always a pilgrimage. Why don't we return to that first haiku? O old pond, a frog jumps in, the sound of a splash. Alan Watts calls this a very high-style Zen poem because it has nothing in it about religion. He adds that the highest kind of religious or spiritual attainment shows no sign that it is religious or spiritual. That is what our haiku is pointing toward. Let me share with you a few more words by Reverend Saito, with which I will close my talk. He says this: the old pond represents what? For you, there is maybe a different interpretation, but to me, right now, here, the old pond represents my deepest consciousness. So often we call it the world of the unconscious, or the world of no consciousness. Whatever we name it, I don't care, but it is the deepest part of our life. Basho was not only a great poet, but also a Zen master. At one particular moment, he was meditating near an old pond. His meditation was so deep that there was no distinction between the old pond and his life. A frog jumped in. Basho became the frog, and he himself jumped into the deepest part of his life. There was the world of nothing but the sound of a splash. Unquote, Saito Sensei. The poet deserves to have the last word. A wanderer, so let that be my name, the first winter rain. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you very much for listening. We'll now have a musical offering. It is Ondoku-san. It's performed by Annette Inoue, a member at Vista Buddhist Temple. And of course, you're welcome to sing along with the printed words here. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo. So here are some announcements about the schedule coming up here. A week from today, November the 8th, Sunday, will be the All Life Forms service. And then the following week, November the 15th, will be the Eitaikyo special service. We will have two guest speakers, Reverend Akahoshi and Reverend Nobuo Miyagi, and they will prepare recorded talks in English and in Japanese. And then Dharma School is going on, and I need to share the schedule with you. Today, November the 1st, at 11 a.m. will be grade 5 and the high school class. And then at 11:40 will be grade 1, grade 6, and grade 7. And the schedule for the following week is it alternates with this. That's Dharma School. Project Kokoro has set up an online craft boutique. I believe it's open as of today. And you can, the next pickup, it says, is November the 21st. Here's the link to order items. And you can also find the link if you look at the YouTube page. The descriptive text below the video here contains the PK Crafts link. Coming up on November 21st is a fundraiser, Sangha Strong Bento Celebration. T-shirts are offered. They can be ordered up to November the 7th, and the bentos, the deadline will be November 11th. And in order to amplify on what I can say here, we have this important message.
Hi everyone. You know, one of the things that I really love about OCBC is how open and honest we can be with one another. Don't you think so, Eugene? So I have to tell you, I've got gas.
Hi,
Hi.
I have a lot of gas.
I got gas. Hi, Freddie. How are you today? I have gas. You have gas? You know what, Freddie? I have gas.
Breaking news. The reason so many people at OCBC have so much gas is that we haven't been there since March. Some of us used to go to OCBC 2, 3, 4 times a week. Think how much money we've saved in gas. So, with some of that money you've saved, you can get yourself a meal and some new clothes. Timing couldn't be better. OCBC is having a dinner and show event on November 21st with bentos you can pick up on campus, then drive home and enjoy our Sangha Strong virtual event. You can also purchase a cool Tomoiki t-shirt. All items are available on ocbc.org for purchase. You will receive confirmation of your order and you will be notified of your pickup time. Bentos are $15 each with a vegetarian option. For our cherished senior Sangha members, meals are $10 each for those 85 years and older. T-shirts are $18 each for youth sizes and $24 for adults. And here's what it looks like. So, I hope to see you then, and thank you very much.
We'll conclude our service at this point. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and please stay safe and well.